and went right past him.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy who had the jersey at the Penguins game was a Maurice Jones-Drew jersey.
Very
but
nice.
Yet somehow he was still rooting for the Penguins.
Right.
Of course, it takes all kinds. All right.
Here we go.
Let's go back.
Oh, welcome to the Sports Porch Pittsburgh, where you can watch us all over the world on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on X. And of course, if you can't watch because you're driving, and we generally don't like to watch Facebook or YouTube while we're driving, you can always catch us at radiopgh.com. It's really easy. I'm going to put that link in the comments. You can listen right now because we are live on radiopgh.com, and we drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. So be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And of course, theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com.
Absolutely. So, listen, we have phone lines open as always, all the time. 412-805-7236. If you're watching or listening to the live show, would encourage you to call in because we do want to know what your thoughts are on the subject du jour, guys.
Right now we have one open line.
And we have we seem to always have one open line. What the first thing I do want to say is this: our best fan, our number one fan out there, DG, he sent us something special. We got something special. We're not going to get to it tonight, DG, because we're doing it remotely. We had some other things going on. So I am in the Monroeville Porch. Schwaber is in the Indiana Township Porch, and he hates when I say that. And Steve is in the actual Pittsburgh / Greenfield Porch. So next week we will be debuting that, and I can't wait. And DG said,
"Wow, that didn't take long."
The Steelers' offense sucks. Angela says hi. Amy, of course, is in the house.
Hey, Angela, welcome to the Porch.
She says hi. Look, I'm going to go. I want you guys to follow my lead here. I am going to. I'm going to start with some specific questions that I think really need to be answered, and we've been asking them for a long time. And then I'm going to go to the overall general picture on the Steelers, okay? Because I don't want to get mired in the record and what's going to happen and all that. I want to get to these, okay? Here's my number one question right now. This is my personal number one question, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I want to hear your thoughts if you're out there. 412-805-7236. And I want to hear you guys' thoughts. When in the hell are we going to get a new punter? When are we getting a new punter? I know it's not like he throws passes, but he frickin' sucks. He sucks. Come on.
I think that's the last thing on the agenda right now.
It's the first.
Not according to Tomlin.
When
that
was
the only guy that Tomlin threw under the bus was the punter.
Yeah, I know. And how many times are we going to throw this guy under the bus? Get rid of him.
He's just going to have to get another groin injury.
He sucks.
Get rid of him.
He doesn't. He sucks when he doesn't have a groin injury.
Wait, didn't the punter that they had in that one game because of the groin injury? Didn't he get picked up by somebody? So
I don't know.
Even get him anymore. I don't think.
I don't know if he.
Yeah. I think he's the Eagles punter.
Yeah.
Brandon Mann. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
He's the punter.
Yeah.
He's punting pretty well in the last couple games.
Yeah, he's pretty happy to be.
Well, I mean, the Eagles only punt the ball like 3 times a game. The Steelers punt the ball
once a game.
Yeah.
The Steelers punt the ball 4 times in the first quarter. So.
Yeah, but look, they drafted him. He wasn't he a first round pick?
6. Come on, let's not overdo it.
They talk
there
about
are definitely bigger fish to fry than a punter. Although I do agree with you, the punter definitely sucks.
But this is the thing. It's the little things. Okay. When you're trying to play a football game, especially the way the Steelers play, which is god awful. And we'll get to that in a minute. Field position becomes paramount. And when you can count on your punter to give the other team good field position every single time, that makes it even worse. All right, 412-805-7236. Next question. Do the Steelers have a tight end?
They have 3, actually.
Do they really have a tight end? Because I haven't seen them really try to use one this entire year.
Well, then you weren't watching the game because Hayward was targeted 6 times, more than
Fryermuth.
When
he was
playing.
Speak,
please? Can I speak, please?
Yeah, go ahead. You're making excuses, but go.
My
ahead.
apologies.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Speak.
he had more targets than Pickens did.
Okay.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, how can you throw the ball to a backup tight end more than you can throw to the best talent you have on the offense? That's what's ridiculous. And is he a real tight end? No, of course not. He's just on the team because his brother's really good. He's hurt right now, but that's the only reason he's on the team. The only reason he's a tight end is because he couldn't make it as a fullback.
Okay.
That's what's ridiculous about this. Like, think about it, dude. They threw to a guy who's not even a backup tight end.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a failed fullback,
right?
And he had more passes thrown to him than your best freaking wide receiver.
So you answered
this is what our offense is.
You answered my
ridiculous.
You answered my question. So Cliff Bailey, thanks for chiming in. He says, with all the problems on this team, you're complaining about the punter. If we had an OC that could call an offense, look, we
have a little fun.
Listen, tune in every week. If you do and you just don't speak up, no big deal. But thanks for your comment. We have talked so much about Matt Canada. I like when I say those words, the Matt Canada, I throw up a little in my mouth right now. It just happens. I can't help it. It's like a gag reflex. And, so I'm just trying to bring a little levity to this situation and point out some obvious shit. The Steelers have tight ends. That's what I'm getting at. Where the hell are they? They're thrown to Connor Hayward. What about the guy they drafted? Darnell Washington. Where is he? Is he that bad?
He was on the field for 6 plays, and they didn't draft him.
I love how Steve counts that. Yeah. Well, they don't have anybody to catch the ball. They should at least give him a shot.
Well, no, they didn't draft him to catch the ball. They drafted him to block because he's so big.
And he's not in there, and he's not blocking. Okay.
Well, because he's a rookie. You understand that the Steelers don't play their rookies more than 10% of the time. I mean, they drafted Broderick Jones first, and Dan Moore Jr. got hurt, and he was in there, and that just so happened to be the time when they could actually run the ball, and they drove the ball down the field when Dan Moore Jr. was hurt. But then he was better, so they put him back in, and then they sucked the rest of the game.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. I mean, it's one of those things where what I'm saying is I'm kind of pointing out some of the stupid things, because now at this point in the season,
you've just scratched the surface, by the way.
Yeah, right. And DG levity, there is no levity after Tomlin's press conference.
I didn't hear it this week. What was it about? Like we need to outmuscle the other team. We need to get back to hitting pads.
No, I think it was more about, you can't bridge that distance. It's the distance too far. Whenever you get down by 10 points, that's just a distance too far for our offense to go. It's like, what?
We're not built to come back.
That's right. Well, I guess the whole idea about this for me is that there are just we've been talking about the obvious for so long that there's some other things that are kind of like they go hand in hand with having a complete team. That's what I'm talking about. When your punter sucks as bad as that guy, you can't play the field position game. You can't do it. You can't pin anybody deep because the guy shanks every damn punt. When you don't when you don't work a tight end into the offense, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend. When he's going through his progressions and everybody's covered, where does he look? He looks over the middle of the field in the softness of the zone to find the tight end. They don't, and Steve, yeah, right. They're trying to throw it. Connor Hayward is not a tight end.
Well, he is their backup tight end now, but
I will make a brief point. I would say that punter and a poor use of tight ends are not in my top 5 issues.
Right.
I agree. No, I agree. Let's get to the number one issue. Let's talk about the quarterback, please.
Well, that was next. Trubisky or Rudolph? 412-805-7236. Because
that wasn't what Steve was referring to.
Well, no, Big Ken's actually going to play on Thursday, so you might want to put him back on the list.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, so here's the can we talk about Big Ken's problems?
Yeah, sure. You could talk about whatever you want.
And why did we name him Big Ken?
Yeah.
Well, that's the name that Hayward tried to give him because they wanted to make him seem like he's just as good as Big Ben. So he said we should call him Big Ken, and it never stuck, except for with me because I like making fun of it because he's so not like Big Ben. It's ridiculous, and here's why he's not like Big Ben. One, actually, he has been clutch this year in some games. So there, I think I'll give him the Big Ken moniker, meaning it. But the rest of it, dude, I mean, I know he got thrown to the ground at the end of the quarter, and we can talk about that being a penalty or not a penalty. I don't really care about that. He got thrown to the ground hard. That's not a play where you can, like, fracture a rib or bruise a rib on. Like, why? Could you get injured on a play like that? Like, it was just a hard takedown. It wasn't even really like 4 guys jumped on him, and the guy that hit him was just a normal linebacker. I think the guy, one, is fragile, and I think that's a problem. And I actually was kind of happy he got injured because I did want to see what Trubisky could do, honestly, because I still, in my mind, am not sure whether it's Big Ken or Canada who are the problem on this team. And unfortunately, the second half didn't help because Trubisky was good for one series, but that's it. That's all he was good for. And I see why they play Big Ken now, because the reason they do is he won't make that risky pass. He won't throw in the triple coverage to Allen Robinson across the middle. He just would never make that pass. While Trubisky is not, although that's a bad analogy because throwing to triple coverage to Allen Robinson across the middle is dumb. You should at least throw it to Pickens or Deontay if he was in the game, because that's just a bad choice of who to throw to. But he will make risky throws, and that's why he's not in there.
What I would say is to even there are no good analogies on this team. Okay, this team is in complete disarray.
Well, I disagree.
Huh? You disagree?
Yeah, I disagree.
All right, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Listen, you've been talking a lot. Schwab, do you disagree or agree with me?
Well, I don't know that disarray is the right word, but I do feel that their trajectory is downward at the moment. Now, that could be different with a first-round quarterback pick next year. But I just feel like their trajectory right now is downward.
Okay, so Cliff is back, and he says it's poor use of all the talent. I don't think you're going to get an argument there out of us.
Yeah, I think Cliff's right there.
The offensive play calling is too predictable, right? Run plays are always Harris up the middle, slant, curl, screen plays. Same thing over and over and over. Misuse of talent, right? Mike is in the house. Mike Lawrence, thanks for being here. Mike Trubisky is good at throwing into double and triple coverage. Yeah, he's excellent at it.
Yeah.
I say this team is in disarray because the excuses are never ending. Listen, I listen to sports radio.
Well,
go ahead, bud.
No, go ahead. Finish your point.
All I hear is, well, Najee looked a little slower this game. They're not getting the holes opened up for him. Warren is explosive, but he's probably not every down. Freiermuth is injured, so we don't really have a tight end. The defense is able to call the plays before they run them, but the players have to execute. Kenny made the first pass of the game. It should have been a touchdown. Blah, 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 blah. Look, to me, and then you go to the Tomlin press conference, and I got to tell you, man, he confuses the hell out of me when he talks. Honestly,
you're not the only one.
I know. I know.
He really doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything. 18 years you've been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what he has learned is that he can say nothing and get away with it. He can say nothing and get away with it. Here's where I am. This is where I am. And they may end up, I highly doubt it, they may end up winning every game the rest of this year, and everybody's going to laugh about that. They're not going to.
That's not going to happen.
It is time. It is, and I know. I know what this. I know what the Steelers. I know what the Steelers' way is. I get it. It's time to make a change. It's time for a new head coach. It's time for a complete redo. We are not going to relive the Ben Roethlisberger glory years with the current system. We are not going to win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years like we did in the 70s with the current system. The NFL is a constantly evolving league in which teams get good for a period of time, and then they go through a transformation and they have changes. This is the time to do it. That's the way I feel now. And look, Steve, I know where you're going. We've had how many conversations? Yeah, of course they're never going to do it. Just like Amy says, the word change is not a part of the Rooney vocabulary. She's absolutely right. But it's time.
Best comment of the show thus far.
Is that why you put a little star next to it, Mark?
Yes, I did.
Yes. I've been wondering who's been putting those stars next to comments and stuff. So I'm going to be quiet right now and let you guys go to town on that. And
well, I mean, your fantasy world is quite fun, by the way. I do enjoy, I do enjoy thinking about getting a new head coach because I do think that is necessary.
Yes.
But until Tomlin retires, that's not going to happen. So let's talk about the reality of the situation.
Okay.
The reality of the situation was not this past week, but the week before, everybody was happy. We beat the Rams. They're a pretty good team. Everybody so thought. We were able to stop them. Our defense was good enough, made a big splash play, and we win the game, right? The only difference about this game was the very first series where Deontay drops that pass. If he catches that pass, who the hell knows? He might be in the end zone on the very first play. And we're talking about the Steelers playing from ahead as opposed to from behind. So and that's where they need to make the change. They need to make the changes in execution of the game plan. Because I actually think for the first time ever, the execution, the play calling would have been right. But the execution was extremely poor. And that's where the Steelers have been bad all year and have been bad since Big Ken has taken over. They're just not consistent in their execution. They keep relying on defensive plays, defensive scoring plays to keep them in games. And that's just not sustainable in this NFL. And I get it. This defense is pretty good. And I agree with you. They're not as good as they think they are because they give up a lot of yardage, just like they did last year. But you can give up a lot of yardage in the NFL and still win games as long as you're getting the turnovers. That's what this defense has done all year. The problem is the O-line cannot open up any holes. They have no running game, and then they got to rely on an in-depth passing game to be able to make that happen. And how this offensive line got worse after taking a number 1 pick who they have sitting on the goddamn bench, and Sayamalu, who presumably was going to be the savior right guard. I guess all he does is he just jumps off sides on field goals now.
Right.
We can talk about that, by the way, because I know he didn't jump off sides. I know he wasn't off sides before we get 6,000 comments on that.
Right.
But the reality is the offensive line is not opening up any holes, and whether Najee was back there or Barry frickin' Sanders was back there, Barry Sanders would only get 50 yards with this offensive line.
I don't know. He would get at least 150-yard run, according to Schwaber. It'd be 1-1 -3 52. Listen, Jeff Grabiak is in town. Grab says, no moxie on this team, no discipline. The O-line is inept. What do I know? More than the coaches.
And at the end of the game, when they have to come out and say that, it was the refs' fault. The refs made us lose this game.
That's ridiculous.
To me, first of all, Deontay's going to be lucky if he doesn't get suspended for this game for some of the things he said, insinuating that the refs actually were paid off. That's dangerous territory. The NFL doesn't like to hear that talk. I bet you he gets a $250,000 fine at least.
Okay,
for his comments.
I want to break in here, and I just want to tell you that I'm watching the pregame for Monday night, and I'm kind of digging the Lions cool helmets for Color Rush. All right, Brad Trombley says, I'm going to let you guys pick the game I come to next week. I'm 0-2 on the games I come to. Well, I guess you're not coming then, Brad. Yesterday was a complete misery sitting in that shit.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you.
Shit game. Let's see.
Well, shall I make my comments on the game?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, what I have to say is, it is a miracle that the Steelers are 4-3. Are we getting a call in?
We might actually be getting a call here. Let's see. Hopefully it's not spam. Hey, it's the Porch, and you're on the porch.
Yep, DG calling in. I see you press the right button this time.
It is
DG.
Welcome. DG, I gotta program your number into my phone for DG because when it comes up West,
and then it'll spit it out and reject the call.
Yeah. So go ahead. What do you got to say, DG?
Oh, just a couple of things. I mean, you guys are hitting all the points, after Tomlin's press conference today, he said something that I didn't know if you guys picked up on. But to me, it was just kind of amazing because he does say nothing like Mark said, and you guys agreed. But he said about the defense, they didn't provide plays that were advantageous to our offense, and they didn't. Yeah, they came up with turnovers, but they weren't. And I was like, how many turnovers did we pick up that game? How many does he expect his defense to provide from? And so you might, you're not going to take a pick six, every turnover. They stopped those guys how many times?
Yeah.
In the red zone.
Saved the team's ass, and the offense never stepped up, never. And punter. I mean, that guy since day one. I just haven't figured out why they keep him around. But you know what? I think. And then I'll let you guys go. It's just I don't see the discipline. Tomlin, he walks around, he's Joe Cool, and he's blah, 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 and he's got Glorilla in the house, and he's
I know. What the hell?
It's like listen, you've got an offense that's anemic, it's been anemic, and the change needs to be made, and I just think that he's burning up a lot of he's burning up a lot of stock that he's built over the years, and if they continue this way, a change will end up being made.
I hope so.
People aren't they're not going to tolerate this, and the defense isn't the greatest defense, but they're a damn good defense that's provided the situations to allow a normal offense to at least win some of these games, and they aren't. And one last thing, the Deontay, it reminds me, kind of the stuff that Mark has talked about in the past, and I've been worried about, even with Pickens, these guys, lipping off like that about the refs, and first of all, he dropped the pass, and he's talking about the refs. It just reminds me back to my old high school football coach. He was a pro center, and he was like, the refs. No, if you're in a position where you're saying that the calls lost the game for you, you didn't play well enough.
Yeah,
to win.
I agree. I agree 100%. And as far as the defense, as far as the defense goes, DG, my whole point about the defense is they're ranked 30th overall. Okay, they're ranked 30th.
That's out of 32 teams, right?
That's right. They are ranked 28th in 25th in pass defense and 28th in rush defense. They're horrible.
What are they in horrible. Points scored? Points against?
I have
not 30th.
But here's the thing on that.
Scoring defense.
But here's the thing on that.
No. How many points against? Points against.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Points allowed, right?
But turnovers, they
17th. 17th.
Yeah. So they're more like a Midland defense, not a 30th defense.
Well, and they also have a buy in there too, helping them out on that.
I thought we were higher than 17.
It's points per game
on the turnovers.
Oh, okay.
And red zone defense, they are 22nd. Third down defense, they are 24th. And that's as far as I'll go. I am just saying that and DG, listen, thanks for the call. We'll let you go. It's always so happy that you were here with us. And next week, your little surprise, we'll get it into the show. I can't tell you how.
Hey, it's all good. Hopefully, bring you guys some laughs.
Yeah.
Hey, this week, though, Levis, dude, rookie.
I can't imagine why he wouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
He'll be playing for sure. Definitely going to play. Yeah.
I'm just saying. So everybody's Kenny Pickett. Kenny's our man. I'm still waiting for 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, exactly. All right, DG, thanks for calling in. Always appreciate it.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to finish up my points because I actually watched this game, which was torture.
Torture. Yeah.
You watched it on a replay, Schwab, and you would be listening. You tortured yourself. Like you took one for the team here because we were all texting back and forth during the game. You're watching the Eagles game, but you're getting a play-by-play blow from us, and then you actually went back and watched it. Now, of course, we were like, we don't need to relive it, so please don't text us again.
Right.
But so go ahead.
Yeah.
It was a torturous game to watch.
Yeah. So this is my kind of overall feeling here. I just think it's really what it comes down to, kind of overall, kind of across the board. I just feel like it's a lack of talent. Not to say that there aren't some really good players on the team. Okay, like TJ Watt, like Highsmith, right? Like Pickens. But look, the quarterback isn't very good. He's middling at best, right? The offensive line isn't very good. The best offensive lineman on the team doesn't play.
Is probably on the bench, right?
Yeah, who's the first round pick. Even if there were holes, I would still say that Najee and Jaylen Warren are both average.
That's where I go ahead.
If Freiermuth is healthy, decent, average. Deontay Johnson. I mean, look, I recognize he's got talent, but he can't play for me. He dropped 2 balls on that first drive. Now, one would have been nullified because there was a penalty, but you know what? If he caught the ball, they would have at least had another down.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, look, on offense, there's not a lot to work with, and beyond that, you've got horrible play calling. Now, like Steve was saying, the play calling wasn't terrible yesterday, but he also said, which I completely agree with him. I mean, Jesus, I mean, Pickens, he's your best player. And, he got now one was taken back on a penalty, but technically he got his first target, like on the touchdown pass, like midway through the third quarter.
I know.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
And Johnson was back,
right.
And they weren't throwing to a tight end.
Right. And then, if you look at the defense, I mean, what I've been kind of saying all along is, look, they got a really good defensive line. I think the linebackers are a smidge better than last year. The secondary, I think, is kind of weak. And even Minka's kind of been below average this year.
Yep.
I do like what we've seen from Porter Jr. so far.
Yeah, he did get burned yesterday, though.
But he's young and he's learning.
Right.
But the bottom line is that Steve's right in that by the eye test, the defense doesn't seem that bad. They really don't. And that's basically because they keep them in games and they make big plays. But, it's like I was watching the game with Amy yesterday, and what I told her was, I said I couldn't believe this, because I was looking up if I was going to start Travis Etienne or not in my fantasy team. And I was shocked that they were 28th against the rush and 30th overall. I was honestly shocked by that, because the eye test tells you different.
Right.
And so Amy was like, well, what does that mean? And so I said, well, basically what that means is they're a big play defense. It means people are going up and down the field the whole game long, but then they make a big play. And that's why they're in games. And sure enough, I mean, that was like the whole game. Like if you look at it from the Jacksonville side, Jacksonville could have had them blown out early, but they kept driving down the whole field, and then the Steelers would get a turnover. Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically what was happening. And I just sort of feel like, just the way Steve is just saying, like, the pick sixes aren't sustainable. I also just kind of feel too, like, turnovers aren't really sustainable either.
That's right.
Like, if there's going to be a team that has the most turnovers, maybe it'll be the Steelers. Maybe they'll be in the top 5. They probably will be. But you're going to hit your games where you get no turnovers or you get one.
Right.
And that's going to be the game where, when teams are going up and down the whole field, that's when Houston happens. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly right. And so, you cannot live on a defense that is ranked as low as the Steelers defense is ranked and win games, especially if your offense is where their offense is.
Right. So
that statement makes no sense, because they've won 4 games that way.
Against who?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that
against
Cleveland.
Baltimore, Cleveland,
which is a division game, and they draw.
I'm just saying that what you're saying doesn't make sense, because in the scope of things, yardage doesn't really mean that much when you're getting turnovers. What does make sense is you can't sustain turnovers all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what happened yesterday.
Right.
Their defense basically, and this is kind of, I think, Tomlin's point. Their defense bailed out their defense. It didn't help the offense, because they didn't get a turnover they didn't get the turnovers in the side of the field that allows the offense to score. That's a total Tomlinism, by the way.
I was just about to say, wait, did you actually just say their defense bailed out their defense?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I got it though.
But everybody understands what I said when I said that.
Right.
Because their defense basically allowed the team.
Watching too many Tomlin press conferences.
Dude, I have to, because he's our coach in perpetuity until he retires. Here's
the thing. Now, Steve, like what you're saying, because one of the things you're saying, and it makes sense. But they're 4-3 playing this style of ball, right?
Yes.
But the whole point that I'm trying to bring up here is that we're tired of 9-8. We're tired of 8-9. We're tired of 7-10. That's what we're tired of. And it seems like that's the direction that we're headed in.
Again,
This is the way Tomlin coaches. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I'm tired of not being in the Super Bowl for 10 years.
Right.
I mean, I'm tired of not winning a playoff in that long. I'm very tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. But here's the reality. The reality is, until the coach changes, the system doesn't change. And the system is based off of, let's play good enough to make the playoffs, because then we'll be in a good position to be able to win a game, which hasn't actually worked ever. So you're not going to fire the coach. So unless you have some dirt on Mike Tomlin that I don't know about, and you can get him to retire next year, this is what we have for the foreseeable future.
And so we're not saying we want anybody to dig up dirt on Mike Tomlin. Let's just make that
well, fair. But, no, trust me, if there was dirt out there, I think it would have already been lumped on him.
And this is not an indictment of Mike Tomlin as a person, but I think his ability to see clearly through the process that needs to adjust to this new NFL, I think it's limited and his time is up. And you guys know I have been a Tomlin defender for quite a few years now. I really and truly have, but I can no longer defend this, especially since we started listening to the press conferences, which if I was listening to him 5 years ago, I would have been there anyway.
You're the reason the Steelers are in this predicament because you predicted that they would draft Kenny Pickett.
I did. Sometimes
so you're actually the problem.
You do need to take some blame here.
Yeah.
You know what?
No, but see what you said, Steve. That's very.
I like. Go ahead.
DG's comment. Yeah.
I'm just saying what Steve just said though. Like that's quite depressing though, because
but it's what we got. I mean, it's Steeler way. If you don't like the Steeler way, then it's time to pick a new team because this is never going to change.
Yeah. Okay.
Although you know what?
In my head
today, I interviewed Dan Rooney, and here was my question to him. My question to Dan Rooney, and I know he listens to this show, so he'll get this now.
Good.
I said, so when you do want to sell the team, what do you think about putting it out there for the public to buy the team? So that you'd put out 1 million shares, everybody would buy 1,000 shares, 1 million shares at $1,000, and you get your money, and we get rid of we get some stake in what goes on with the team, much like Green Bay does. He gets his $1 billion, and we get rid of Tomlin. I mean, I think everybody would be happy that way.
Robbie says, "I love the Steeler way." Thanks for being here, Robbie. Brad has a question for us.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you.
What I will tell you this right now is,
Steeler fan. Finally,
the Steelers organization. I can't decide if they would be in big trouble or be completely saved if this happened. But you know darn well who would buy as many shares as possible, and that person's name is Scott.
No, you can only buy one share, by the way. You can't buy more than one share.
Like up in Green Bay. Okay, Brad Trombley has a question, and let's fantasize, okay? Because since we're stuck and mired in this quagmire.
Wait, Brad's at the hockey game and he's texting us questions.
Yeah,
that is a true fan, right there.
Is he at the hockey game tonight? He's still in town.
Yeah, he's in the game. He's at the game right now. I love it.
Awesome. That's awesome. So Brad says, who would you like to see as the next head coach? And by the way, Brad, show this show to everybody in your entire section there. We'd like you to get it out there for us. The number one hockey Jesus disciple. Who would you like to see as the next head coach? My answer to that is anybody but Mike Tomlin.
I'm going with Glorilla.
I'm dead serious. Glorilla? Yeah.
I think that's why she was there, actually.
I think James Harrison should be the next coach.
I think she's going to be the new offensive coordinator. What do you think?
Glorilla? Yeah. You know what? She would what's the word I'm looking for? She would deflect defense. She would what did you say?
She would enhance the style of the offense.
Yeah. I thought you said something about pants, but I'm not going to go there.
I did not say pants. No.
I know. It was just me. It was just me. And honestly, I don't think I could think. I can't think past who I would like to see as the next Steelers head coach because they still have a head coach, and I'm all about the fantasy, Brad. Totally, all about the fantasy. Like who would? Somebody trying to answer this question.
Well, here's a simple answer to it.
Come on, get in front of the net for God's sakes.
It should be a really good offensive coordinator in the NFL who seems to hold the characteristics and traits of a good head coach, but it needs to be somebody on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes,
like that
and
young,
somebody who's younger.
Who's the offensive coordinator for the Chargers?
Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Yep, Kellen Moore.
It could be, sure.
Yeah, I think it needs to be somebody who is right, one of the newer innovative minds in the NFL, because obviously going back to your old style head coaches has not worked out for a lot of teams. Sean Payton, Mike McCarthy. I mean, those guys are of a previous generation. And look, analytics and throwing the ball and fast wide receivers. That's the way it goes. And
would you get in front of the net?
And Steve, we would really appreciate if you would watch the game in silence during the show.
People on the radio listening to the podcast would have no idea what you're doing.
You know what? And that being said, we're going to move on here. We got to do our NFL picks real quick.
Oh yeah,
and then we're going to let Hockey Jesus talk real quick. And
I promise I'll hit the mute button the next time.
Jesus.
And all right. So last week, we all ended up 2-1, by the way. We all ended up 2-1. So right now, Mark is 15-6, Steve is 12-9, and Chris is 8-13. We want to know what your pick is. The Thursday night game is, of course, the Titans at the Steelers. Since Mark has picked first every week since the beginning, I'm going to let Steve pick first this week.
Well, I took the Steelers, and I'm going to stick with the Steelers.
Okay. Schwaber, you took the Titans in the beginning of the year.
I did.
No. Mark took the Titans.
Oh, Mike.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. So
well, I don't have to take them though.
No, but I'm just telling you that's who you picked in the beginning of the
year. It's such a crazy question, because it's like, can a rookie quarterback compete against the Steelers defense?
Yes.
But you know what?
Well, CJ Stroud did.
Here's what I have to say to myself. What I have to say to myself is I'm basing that based on what I think of past Steelers defenses. So I will take the Titans.
There you go. And I am taking the Titans as well.
I love it. Next
game, Sunday night. This is a game.
Watch. They'll trade Derrick Henry tomorrow at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's possible. Right. They say he's probably going to go to Baltimore.
Right, which would be just fantastic for the Steelers. Sunday night's game, Bills at Bengals. What are your picks, Steve?
Well, I told you the Bengals were going to beat the 49ers in 49er land, and I was right about that.
Yeah, and Mark and I picked the Niners.
I actually like the Bills in this game, and I don't know why. I'm just going to go with the Bills.
Schwaber?
I'll go Bengals, home team.
I am actually going to go with the Bengals on this. I think the Bills get in their own way, and I think the Bengals are on the way back. Okay, this is an exciting.
I just want the Bengals to lose because I think they're winning too much.
And DG says, don't second guess the Grand Schwabini.
That's right, DG. Thanks.
He's right. He's right about that.
This is a great game to pick. It's a 9:30 game from Frankfurt, Germany. Dolphins at the Chiefs. Now, this is interesting because that Dolphins offense, that Chiefs offense, this is the kind of game that if you're like a FanDuel kind of guy, they're like, bet the over. It's going to be 900 points. Bet the over. I would look at this and say, you want to know what? This is the kind of game that is like 13-10.
It could be. You're right.
So who are you going with, Steve? Dolphins or Chiefs? Now, remember, I
bet the over-under on this is probably like 57 or something.
I bet it is. I didn't look it up because I'm not a betting guy. But
me neither. I don't bet. But
Dolphins at Chiefs, and there is no real home team. It's in Frankfurt.
Well, the Chiefs just lost. They're 0-1 without Taylor Swift, and she's definitely not going to be in Frankfurt for the game.
I hate that. I don't ever want to talk about Taylor Swift.
I did it just for you. I had to gaslight.
I know. You're just being an asshole. Come on.
I know. I had to throw that in there.
He's so ugly. I don't get it.
Dolphins are definitely on a roll. That's why I think the Chiefs are going to win. I got the Chiefs 49-48.
It's in Frankfurt. All right, Schwaber. Dolphins, Chiefs.
As far as the way the teams are playing, I mean, the Dolphins are playing better than the Chiefs right now, but I'm just going to go Pat Mahomes over Tua, Andy Reid over the kindergartner teacher for the Dolphins at head coach. After a loss and a bad one at that, I'm going to go Chiefs.
I say the mystique of the Chiefs is starting to fade.
Just like the 49ers, huh?
It's starting to fade. Now, Mahomes is, look, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback already. So, but I'm going Dolphins on this one, boys. I'm going Dolphins on this one.
Well, you got to make up some space, so it's a good time to pick them.
You know what? At this point where I am, I'm just hoping I'm not getting bored by the end of this. So, all right. Remember, guys, I want to thank everybody.
Oh, Robbie, you don't like Taylor Swift?
I so agree. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you so much.
But it's the Steeler way to love Taylor Swift.
For agreeing me. Well, come on now. It is.
No, not really. I made that one up. I'm sorry.
So I want to remind everybody, listen, if you didn't catch the whole show that we do live all over the world on radiopgh.com and also Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X, you can catch the podcast right after the show. Within about 15 minutes, I drop the podcast. It's on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. And we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Now we're going to move on to something called somebody called Hockey Jesus. And if you've caught up with the podcast, Hockey Jesus preaches after every Penguins game on the Sports Porch podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. And he's going
on our Deportes channel.
He's going to preach right now. But first of all, I want you to tell us about Brad. We had a fan. You know what? I don't want to call people that are fans. I want to call them friends, because if you're watching our show and you're interacting with us and you're telling people about it, you're a friend. And
you're a friend of the show.
That's right. You're a friend of the show. So Brad has been with us for a few years now. He's participated a lot. He's been out to Pittsburgh a couple times. I think last year was for the Jets game. We weren't able to catch up with him, but this time Steve made a commitment. Hockey Jesus said, "You want to know what? I will pray with you down at PPG Paints Arena during the hockey game." And you met our buddy Brad, and tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll let you preach about the Penguins.
Brad is a hardcore Pittsburgh fan. He became a Pittsburgh fan actually because I believe it was his aunt gave him a jersey of Lynn Swann when he was young. He actually grew up.
That's classic.
He grew up in Minnesota, so and he still lives in Minnesota. But him and his son Jameson came to Pittsburgh. They make the pilgrimage every year, and they try and get as many sports events as they can. This year, they were able to get 3 in. Hopefully, they don't go 0-3 tonight. They're at the Anaheim-Pittsburgh game down at the PPG Arena before they fly out tomorrow. But just a great guy. Brad's been with us for a while. It was really good to catch up and actually meet somebody in person down at the arena. It's just great to see fans all over the nation come to Pittsburgh and enjoy the sports and the city. I mean, he absolutely did not enjoy the weather this week and this weekend.
He's from Minnesota.
It's still better than Minnesota.
I mean, at least it wasn't snowing, right? He'd probably go back to 6 inches of snow in Minnesota. Right. So yeah, so I guess everything's kind of relative. But no, good to meet up with him. We had a chat. I wanted to buy him a beer, but hey, the guy doesn't drink, so I respect that.
Well, God bless him. That. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Keep it real.
How dare you push alcohol?
So yeah,
on him.
Brad's a super fan.
Did you buy his son a beer though? Were you able to push a beer on his son?
Nah, his son didn't want to have anything to do with us, and I don't blame him. If I was his son, I would be like, why are you going to meet some weirdo from the internet?
That calls himself Hockey Jesus. What's up with that?
Good fun. Great to see Brad. And so we met up before the game, and unfortunately the Penguins went to stink it up and lost.
Yeah, well, that was your fault. That wasn't his fault.
No, that was the guy. That was the guy with the Brian Reynolds shirt on.
There you go.
Anybody who wears a Pittsburgh Pirate shirt to a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey game, you should be taken outside. And
you got to think about that. I know.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like if you're going to a hockey game and you're going to pay good money, like you don't have to wear Penguins gear. I don't care if you don't wear Penguins gear, but don't wear Pittsburgh Pirates. Like I would probably wear a Penguins hat to a Pirates game. But
could I wear my throwback Redskins Donovan McNabb jersey?
If you'd want to be ridiculed, yes.
Because I can tell you that when they signed Donovan McNabb, just to piss off Mark, I went out and I bought a Redskins Donovan McNabb jersey. And
see how well that turned out for you?
I know, what a waste of money.
That was $80 well spent, Chris.
I think it was more than that. I think it was more than that. There was something in the back of my head was that,
you know what? You could probably get $25 on it in the secondary market. I bet CD would buy it.
No way.
No, $3.
Listen, I would give it away for free just to get it out of my goddamn closet, to be honest.
I'll wear it.
I did throw it out, to be honest.
I would not wear it at a Penguin game, though.
Maybe you should actually burn it and exorcise the demons associated with it.
I'm not sure that's possible. I'm really not. But that's a different show.
If it has the Redskins logo on it, it'll be worth it someday.
Yeah. Maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they'll bring it back.
Not going to happen. Can we talk about hockey now?
He's no Art Monk.
Preach, Jesus, 81, Art Monk. Preach, Jesus, preach.
He's no Art Monk, that's for sure. So the Penguins are in free fall right now. There's no good way to say it. Yeah. Everything that could go wrong with this team is going wrong. Their power play is abysmal. Their penalty kill is not good. And they managed to get like 50 shots on goal. I think they try and shoot the puck like 80 times a game, and they get like 2 goals. So,
yeah, it seems like they're shooting the hell out of the puck, and they're score.
They're getting a lot of opportunities. And look, the problem with the Penguins is, and that's what I've been screaming into the mic, and I apologize to our fans for doing that, but the game is on, so I absolutely have to be watching it while I'm on live. They get no net front presence. They have nobody standing in front of the net. And what happens is the goalie gets comfortable. So the goalie can move any way the goalie wants to move to be able to make the saves. And goalies in the NHL, by the way, are really very good. So once they get comfortable, they can stop pretty much anything that's shot at them, even by Sidney Crosby and Malkin and even Jake Gensel. They can stop them all. So what you have to do is put somebody in front of the goalie so you take their eyes away, and then you score goals. And they just, right now, they don't have the personnel that want to be able to stand right in front of the net. And, basically, you can get pretty injured when that puck's going to be coming at you at 80 miles an hour and it accidentally hits you instead of goes into the goal. So most smart people in the world that don't play hockey would never do that. But even the people who do play hockey don't want to do it because it's just a very scary thing to do.
Because it hurts.
Well, I mean, they have pads. So, if you get hit in the pads, it's not going to hurt.
Right.
But you do stand a chance of a deflection and it going in your face. And, you could go on about what could happen with a deflected puck. But that's the big deal. So, and right now, the thing that's really hurting them is inconsistent play from their goalie. Jari has a shutout against Colorado, who's an undefeated team, and then he comes out and gives up 3 goals on 9 shots against Ottawa. And it's just inexplainable. I can't explain it.
It's inexplicable.
I don't understand how he can be so inconsistent from night to night. And they signed this guy to a long contract. So,
this is Jari, though. Steve, this is Jari. This is what we talked about last year. This is what you talked about at the end of last year. And this is the mistake that maybe this is the mistake that Kyle Dubas made. What happened to Magnus? What happened to the Centurion?
Well, he was actually, so he came in during the game because he's their backup now because
he's bigger than the whole net.
Dude, he does. Like half his body is like above the net.
How do you score on a guy that fills the entire net? He doesn't even have to move.
Well, he's not that big. He's not as big as a walrus.
Okay. I'm not familiar with how big a walrus is, but I'm not going to ask you how you are.
I'm sorry. Last year in the playoffs, they had this thing where they put the walrus in the goal and they just
I remember that. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And the other thing that's hurting them now is the Penguins are getting frustrated, so they're taking dumb penalties. Letang took a dumb penalty the other night in front. Sid got frustrated by Giroux because Giroux was hitting him with the butt of his stick on the face-off play, so he just cross-checked him into oblivion. And this is what happens when your team gets frustrated. They take dumb penalties, and then your penalty kill is not good, and then they score goals, and then you're just chasing the game.
Right. Looks like we lost Steve.
Well, Steve's doing just about as well as the Penguins.
Bad Gino was back. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to give Steve a moment to try and come back. I'm going to remove him there, and we really only have about
we'll see if he makes his way back to us.
Yeah, maybe.
Here he comes. Here comes Jesus.
Nah, he's not.
Will there be a miracle?
Yeah, it looks like the hockey gods are not happy with what Hockey Jesus has to be saying.
I think he's been struck down.
Yeah, I think.
Has he? There's been a burnt bush.
I'm kicking him out of the studio. Let's see if he gets back. Right, we'll give him about a minute and a half, and then we'll do that. Man, we were having such a good show, and now
we were. Do you think Moses will part the Red Sea?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think Moses
or Jesus to walk through?
It's more like, do you think Moses will part the bandwidth? He parts the bandwidth to allow the Hockey Jesus back on.
I don't know how things going down in Greenfield.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just like old sewers, old Verizon lines. I don't know. I have no idea.
It seems like an area that probably would have issues.
Yeah, I don't know, but it looks like he's back. He's back.
It's a miracle. Jesus is back.
Sorry, I had to go walk on some water.
Yeah. DG says probably happened because the Pens were just scored on 2-1.
Yeah, I had some rather loud obscenities I had to get out of my system, and I'm back now. So
I'm really sorry.
I feel better about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sid, right. And of course, on cue, Sid took a bad penalty and was in the penalty box, and Anaheim scores another power play goal. So there you go.
Okay, so HJ, wrap it up for us. We got a couple minutes left, real quick.
The Pens just got to start winning some games. They're actually heading to the West Coast, so they play tonight, but they don't play again until Saturday, which is a blessing for the Hockey Jesus because it's a 10 p.m. game on Saturday in San Jose. So I'll be up late on Saturday, but you know what? Being up late on Saturday is much better than being up late on Tuesday.
And with that, God bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you, my son.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the Sports Porch podcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, all over the world, and, of course, on radiopgh.com. And in about 15 minutes, we're going to drop the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And that's the Sports Porch podcast. And we'd love it if you would subscribe to the podcast, listen to us, leave a review, and always visit the website at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
theporcheslive.com.
Oh my God.
He's dying. The technical director just died.
See you later. That's what I'm saying.
He says, I wasn't finding the hockey report on Facebook, but we're putting it up there. I am your technical director, and I am out. Let's go, Pens.